Okay.
Good morning, everybody here in Washington and in Vancouver, Canada. Welcome to the page of Wat Rama in Washington and also the page of Wat Putta Panya Nanta Rama in Vancouver, Canada. And good evening, Thailand. And thank you for following and thank you for watching this program of Dhamma for Life. Today we will continue with the Nibbita and Nanti. As I mentioned last time that the Nanti is referred to the enjoyment of life, the happiness, the fun things that we try to seek, and then we try to own it, we try to occupy, and that has become a Nanti. And that is, we really enjoy whatever we have, whoever we are, and that's referred to the power or ภพ ในภาษาไทย and the thing that lay down in the opposite side of the Nanti that I mentioned as the Nibbita, the disenchant. But the Nibbita or the disenchant in Buddhism is referred to the disenchanting because we understand, because we know things as they are, we know the truth, and that's how we get disenchanted. And also we mentioned that the disenchanting or disenchantment is one of the jhana, one of the insight that occur in the mind during the meditation, during the insight meditation. And it's one of the most important stage in the Sarasa jhana or the 16th stage of meditation, insight meditation. So today we will continue in order to complete the understanding of the Nanti and Nibbita jhana. So as I mentioned last time, was we understand our life by contemplating the separation of Nama and Rupa, body and mind. We contemplate, we consider that our life is consisting of two components. One is body and another is the mind. We try to notice where is the body and which one is the mind. We may practice through the process of the anapanasati by contemplating the breath in and breath out as the body. See what's the component of we are breathing in, we're breathing out. The element that being composed to be breathed out and breathed in. The elements are, for example, the earth, the wind, the water, and fire. When we feel warm, when we feel cold, when we feel really tight, or when we feel very flexible, the flexibility of even the breath in and breath out, the flexibility of the muscle, the tightness, or even the pain of the knee during we are doing sitting meditation, that represent or that present the body. The knowing of that is the body, that is the mind. During the insight meditation, we have to know mind fully, that is the body, that is the activity of the body. The knowledge of that is the body, that is the mind. So without the mind, we will not know that is the body. So knowing the activity of the body, that is the mind. So from this knowledge of knowing the body and the mind, we have a confidence that our life is nothing else but composed of two components, body and mind, and they are separated from each other. From this point of view, when we are happy or unhappy, it's about the mind. The feeling of satisfaction, the feeling of happy, the feeling of unhappy in during the meditation that might occur, that is the mind. The feeling of pain through the activity of the body, knowing the pain is the mind. So the body and the mind are two things different. There are two main, actually they are only two faculties of life, which is referred to the body and the mind. The physical body that we are contemplating, and the mentality that we are having a knowledge of what it is. So now we are able to classify the body and the mind, classifying the life, break down the life. We're not breaking apart life, but we classify life into components. So now we become clearly that everybody are having the same two components of life, that is the body and the mind, nothing else. So you, me, everyone here are not different. So this is what is called the ultimate truth or Paramat Dhamma in Buddhism. And not only in Theravada, in Mahayana school of the Buddhism, also contemplating, having a knowledge of body and mind in contemplation of the insight meditation, or what we call vipassana. So this is become the first knowledge, first insight, or what we call it jhana, in the process of 16th insight, or sarasa jhana. And then we follow by. So this one, the first stage is called Narup Parichetayana, and it's followed by Pajaya Parikaha Jhana. We have to contemplate that how body arises, and also how the mind or the mentality arises. It's more or less similar to the way that we used to contemplate the Paticcasamuppada or or dependent origination, which is the highest knowledge of the Buddhism. That the Buddha once said to Ananta that you don't want to consider the Paticcasamuppada or the dependent origination as the easy knowledge to approach. So during the Pajaya Parikahayana, we contemplate that how the body and the mind arise and how they are correlated. How they are correlated, originated during the compassion, during the contemplation. So sometimes we will find that the body arises because of the mind, or vice versa. The mind arises because of the body. They are closely related in order to form the life as we are today. Imagine when we are thinking of the car that you want to own, you want to buy a beautiful car. The thinking of the car is the mind. Going to buy a car and get the car, that is the body. That means the thinking or the sankhara, mental formations, is the cause, and the car is the effect or the fruition. In the opposite direction, when we saw someone driving the car, then we want the car. That means the body, which is the car, is the cause. And wanting to buy the car is the mind, which is the fruition or an effect. So the body and minds are take turn to be the cause and take turn to be an affect throughout our life, either the past life or the present life or even the future life. Life will be like this. This is the pattern, very uniformity, very uniform, or what we call it the uniformity of life. So now we become understand how our life is occur, or the existence of life, because of the body and mind take turn to be cause and effect. Seem to be very uniform. The Buddha said it is the uniformity of the Putushon, the person who not learning, the person who blind to the truth, especially the Four Noble Truths, the highest, the ultimate truth of life. When the person come across the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha said you are open the door to the emptiness. That is appear in Samyutta Nikaya and also different places in the Tripitaka or the Buddhist scripture. And then we follow the stage of samana sayayana, which is referred to the contemplation of the law of the nature. That is the impermanent nature, or what we call it anicca, the suffering nature, which is we call it in Pali dukkha, and the non-self nature, what we call it anatta. Because of its non-self nature, that's why we cannot control things. The more that we try to control things around us, the more we suffer. And that is because of they themselves are non-self, anatta. And even nibbana also anatta in Theravada doctrine, which is different from the Mahayana doctrine that they are considered. There's still conflict between a doctrine of two schools of the Buddhism, between Theravada and the Mahayana, refer to the Nibbana, that they're saying Nibbana is atta, self. But we are in Theravada school of Buddhism, we contemplate, we think we have a doctrine of Nibbana is anatta. So what we are contemplating on the true nature, and it has become the law of the nature, and that's what we call it the Srilakkana, the three characteristics of all existence, which is one again, the impermanent, the suffering, and non-self natures. So all things that happen in and outside ourselves is fall under the same law of nature, which is the Trilakkana. So during the insight meditation, we contemplate, and then we found that there's nothing stable. From time to time, from moment to moment, we find all things change, and it changes very fast, rising and falling. That is the pattern, and it has become what we call it the uniformity of all existence. That once it arises, it will fall. Once it arises, it will fall, and once it falls, it will arise. So there will be rising and falling, falling and rising, take turn to become what we call as life. And this is called the instability. Things never remain. It always changes. And because of this changing, the instability, the impermanent nature, and that's why we suffer. And we cannot control this condition. We cannot control such a condition because it's a conditioned thing. Something that condition cannot be controlled. And it's always perishable. The fragility of all existence. During the insight meditation, we will find that even the feeling of the happiness is up and down, more or less, rising and falling. And then we follow to complete. This is the Uttaya the uniformity of rising and falling. We have a confidence, the knowledge, confidence of everything, internally, externally, are in the uniformity of rising and falling, and that is what we call the Uttaya Payayana. This is a very pure knowledge, but it has to be direct experience during the insight meditation. What we call it pachattang. You have to be directly experience such a occurrence, such a uniformity of the occurrence of rising and falling during the contemplation, during the insight meditation. So as far as you go on contemplating that all things around you, inside and outside, are rising and falling, you have a pure knowledge, what we call it Visuddhi. In the Visuddhimagga, you begin to have a pure knowledge. You begin to have a standard, or you yourself standardizing the idea, the confidence. And then followed by the Pankayana. You will find that everything, once it arises, it falls. Whatever rises, it falls. Nothing stays, nothing remains, nothing stable. Because it is a nature, the law of the nature of all things. It seems to be the highest, and it is a very strict nature, very strict law of nature, that once we are born, we have to be die. There's no choice. And that is what called Pankayana. So under the contemplation of everything when rising, it has to be fall. There's a continuation of rising and falling at all time. Once we're born, we're going to be die. One things come, the same thing will go away. Nobody stay. Nobody remains forever. That is called the contemplation of Pankayana. And because of this feature of life, this uniformity of life, of rising and falling, this is the danger of life. Our lives being in danger, actually, in each single moment. Is what the Buddha teach everybody, taught his disciple to contemplate. The Pankayana and Payayana is nothing else but the contemplation of the dead. What we call it Marananusati, the contemplation, the mindfulness of the breath, or the contemplation of the death. That has been applied from the insight meditation, that has been applied from the 16 jhana, or ในภาษาไทยเราเรียกว่าโสรถญาณ The knowledge of Payayana, the knowledge of the Pankayana, or from a knowledge of the Uttaya Payayana, constructed the idea of mindfulness of the dead. จริงๆแล้วมรณานุสติก็มีที่ก็เป็นความรู้ของการปฏิบัติที่เกิดจากโสรถญาณนั่นเองหรืออาจจะเป็นอันเดียวกันนะครับ So after we contemplate, or after we have a consideration of the life is always rising and falling, and have a direct and have only one single direction, that is going to die once you are born, we will find that life is always in danger. Leading to the Atinawa. Even though we're trying to be healthy, we try to work out, we try to having a good food, the healthy food, we try to take more supplementary every day, we cannot avoid. It has become the inevitable condition of life, that life is in danger. And this is what we call Atinawayana. So under the contemplation of the separation of the body and mind, throughout the contemplation of a life that's in danger, life is so poison and it's unexpectable. We are sitting right now. You are listening to me right now. I am discussing the Dhamma right now. But in the next 1 or 2 minutes, what will be happen? Nobody knows. Everything is unexpected. We will not know when we are going to be dying. That's so frustrated sometimes. But it's good. We understand the frustration. We deeply understand that the life is actually frustrated, in danger. So we don't know what is the future is. And we will not know, and nobody know 100% that what's going to be in the next minute. So nobody can forecast. We cannot forecast what's going to be in the next hour, in the next minute, or next month, next week. And that's why we have to practice the mindfulness, knowing from one moment to moment. We become awareness of what's happening in front of us. And that's what we call, we stay with the present time. That seems to be the most important ideology to be, in order to make our life most safe. But actually it's unsafe. It never be safe. You try to buy everything in order to make your life safe. But once you contemplate, once you mindfully contemplate about the life, you will see that your life never be in a safety. You put your life in a danger. When you keep contemplating, when you keep practicing the insight meditation, especially the 16th jhana or 16th stage of insight meditation, you will find that this is something bore. This is what is called a boredom. You will have a feeling of boredom. Or what we call, for the topic today, is disenchantment. And the feeling of disenchantment are stronger and stronger. And that's what is the cause of the Buddha, of the prince Siddhartha to go out seeking for the truth, and he found it. Because he sit down and contemplate to the process of the breathing meditation, which come to the same. He has a doctrine of life, what it is, and then he found having a great ideology of his own life. That's the life that his life is really disenchanted or nibbita. So the feeling of nibbitayana very strong, and that's how what we call it nekama. He decided to be ordained. He decided actually ordained himself, seeking for the truth, and he found what he actually found is the way out of such a feeling. If we want to be not disenchanted, we have to find the gateway to get himself out of that situation. So the feeling of disenchanting or disenchantment, it seemed to be the first key. He found the key to unlock. Used to be a deadlock for the people. The Buddha found the key to unlock the deadlock room of the people. And that's what we call the Majjhima Patipatha, or the Noble Eightfold Path, the middle way. And that has become a great teaching in the idea of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, that try to avoid two extremes, from the self-pleasure, from the self-torture, and he established the Buddhism and kept teaching that throughout the India, the ancient India, and has become one of the greatest religion of the world, and he become a greatest teacher of the world, the Lord Buddha. From the moment of he found that the life is so disenchanted, what we call the nibbitayana, nibbita. If you can abandon the enjoyment, so the idea of the nibbitayana or the nibbita will lead to the feeling of a nibbitayana, will lead to the abandon of nanti, or the enjoyment. And that's how this doctrine, the pure knowledge, will challenge the one who practiced to the next stage. And throughout the process of the insight meditation, to make the mind become more calm and stable. Want your mind in peace, calm, the tranquility, the stillness of the mind and the body will unlock you to find the truth, the ultimate truth, or the Four Noble Truths, the greatest knowledge. Seems to be no any knowledge higher than the Four Noble Truths knowledge or the doctrine of the Buddha. Allow you to know what the cause, allow to know clear, having a clear knowledge, pure knowledge of what suffering is, what the cause of the suffering is. And understand, accept there is no suffering. And will allow you to develop the tools by yourself in order to purify yourself. And that is the Makkha or the Noble Eightfold Path. And it has been the path for all the Buddhism, for all Buddhists to practice. And what we are doing, either the Satipatthana or the Samatha Kammatthana, insight meditation, they all consider the path, the Noble Eightfold Path, the middle path that is begin with the Sammatiti, the right view. The view that you understand, the view that you see by yourself through the process of the meditation is what we have, that's what we have been, I have been mentioned today. You're having a right view of what is life. Life is Nama and Rupa. Nama and Rupa are separately things. So once you will come to the stage of understanding or seeing with the mind, the Four Noble Truths arise in the mind. And that's how your mind become light. And the Buddha call it enlightenment. Your mind become enlightened because you see the truth along the way from the first insight to the Four Noble Truths. And that's what is called in the 16th Yana as the Satcha Nuromaya or Satcha Mika Romayana. Your mind become really pure and clear. You found a way out. Your personality, your mind change. Your mind has been nobilized. Your speech has been nobilized. Your action has been nobilized. And this is the way of nobilization, the life. ความเป็นอริยะของชีวิตจากปุถุชนเป็นอริยชนเรียกว่า nobilization หรือเรียกว่ามรรคเส้นทางของอริยชนก็คือ nobilization. We nobilize through the process of actually what is called ไตรสิกขา the threefold training. And during the insight 16th stage of insight meditation, you are completely, totally train yourself as the Trisikha go on. So the Trisikha or the threefold training is nothing else, but it's the way of nobilizing yourself, oneself. in the Buddhism. You become having a pure knowledge. You become having a tool, the greatest tool in Theravada tradition practice. And that's how you become a new person. The personality change. Because you have a clear understanding, the comprehensively understanding what is life and what is the process of life. This is the clear, pure knowledge of the Theravada school of the Buddhism that come once you come into practice, the serious practice, the regular practice. We allow you to see the truth, the greatest truth, the ultimate truth, that is the Four Noble Truth. Satcha Niromayana or Satcha Mikalomayana will allow you to cross the ocean of the suffering from one side to another side, the side of the suffering to the side of non-suffering. The stage of crossing is enlightening or enlightenment stage, or that was called Makkhayana. The crossing is called the Kotapujana, the state of changing the personality from the worldly personality or a conditioned personality to the unconditioned personality.เราเรียกกันในภาษาไทยว่าเราข้ามจากโคตรของปุถุชนไปสู่โคตรของอริยชนข้ามจากโคตรของความเป็นสิ่งสมมุติไปสู่ความเป็นปรมัตถ์หรือโลกุตระ So Makkhayana, or the insight of the Makha, the Noble Eightfold Path will work. The Makkhayana is just like a magnetic that try to pull powerfully the person who practicing regularly to have the fruition, what is called the Palayana. So the Palayana, the Makkhayana and the Palayana, it's just like the magnetic stage of the mind, that once you come to arrive the stage of the Makkhayana, you will become a Palayana. It's an akaliko, a timeless being, a timeless stage. I found that when I sit down and practice the Solotjana, this is a very magnetic, very magnet. I call it magnetic stage of the mind, that crossing from the Makkhayana to Palayana. You become the person who know that what is remaining, what kind of defilement remaining, and what kind of defilement has been disappeared from your life, from your speech, from your personality, from your action, from your thought, from your thinking. Your will is completely changed. And your will is become clear. And that's how you become really light. And finally you enlighten through the process of the 16th stage or the 16th jhana. So this is the difference between the Nanti and Nibbita jhana. Crossing from Nanti to Nibbita. Crossing from the conditioned world to unconditioned world through the process of Nibbita jhana. The Buddha always say that whenever you can abandon Nanti, that is the door to the Nibbita. And once you have a strong sensation of the Nibbita, that is also considered as you are having the key to the Nibbana. There are so many sutra that's in the Buddhist scripture or the Tripitaka mention about the Nanti and the Nibbita. Especially if you go through the Samyutta Nikaya or Majjhima Nikaya, it's a plenty tons of teaching mentioning about the Nanti and Nibbita. So it's a pure knowledge of life, a greatest knowledge, and this is not this is not being taught in any other religion. It's only in Buddhism, and it's very comprehensive knowledge. It's more comprehensive knowledge in the Theravada school or the Buddhism. So if you want to understand clearly what your life is, you must sit down and practice the insight meditation apart from the samatha or the concentration meditation. So Solasayana, 16th stage of contemplation, of insight, allow you to access to everything, especially the mindfulness of death. Also, the Asubha Kammatthana is come from the Solasayana. So I really highly recommend those who are interested in the practice of the Buddhism should have the knowledge of the insight meditation, especially in Solasayana, insight 16th stage of insight meditation. And if those who are listening to this program, we have a class both in English and in Thai. So if you guys are interested in having a knowledge or practice the 16th stage or 16th insight of the meditation or Salasayana, yeah, please contact me either to my Facebook page or online. So I hope today's discussion will benefit you less or more about the Dhamma of the Buddha, and I would like to say thank you to everybody who watching this program and comments and we will see you again. We will come back to see you again next early Saturday morning. I will pass this back to Ajahn Thawatchai, and thank you and goodbye.
And thank you, Yamshas, and thank you, everyone. And